Good evening, everybody. We will begin our class with Shanti Mantra. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavityam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. So, in today's Nishta class, uh, we will preferably begin with questions that you might have. Last week, we had a very uh, intense discussion, and also there were some question about love and all that. So, last week we were basically telling what is the point. So, I was giving an example of Yama and Yama, and in that, especially non-violence. As an example, I was telling why it is important to follow at all places, at all times, under all conditions, the concept of Mahavratam. How is it relevant for the goal of yoga? How does it help us to be more established in the spiritual wisdom that we are exposed to, etc. So, your questions may either be based on what we already discussed, if you have thought about it, if you have any gray areas, or if you are not okay with something, something is not agreeable, etc., you may ask. Or during this week, or during the course of your life, if you have arrived at some questions that are nagging you, especially related to bridging the gap between what is supposedly told as spiritual knowledge and its practical reality in our everyday lives, implementing and actualizing its potential. Okay, so any question? Namaste. May I ask you a question from past class? Could you explain about Swara Yoga again? In this context, what Swara means? Thank you. Okay. Swara here means basically the movement of the breath. Usually, Swara means the notes of music, but here Swara means breath, and it goes in a certain kind of rhythm, like how the musical notes are like something like a quantum state. You have certain frequencies for, like, if you say do re me fa sol la ti do, right? Sa re ga ma pa da ni, and you have this C scale, B scale. These are all swaras. B, D sharp, E sharp, they say, right, in English. And in ours, we say Sajjamam, Rishabam, Gandharam, Madhyamam, etc. So these are swaras, and the progression of the frequency is only in very specific states, correct? So similarly, our breathing pattern alternates between certain specific modalities. It is not a smooth thing across always. No, it's like it is in the right nostril, then it is equal in both, then it is in the left nostril. Now within the nostril, it flows, the breath flows, the subtle breath flows in one of the five tattvas, in one of the five bhutas, panchabhutas, earth, water, air, fire, and space. Prithvi, Apas, Agni, Vayu, Akasha. So in each nostril, you have right nostril, Surya Nadi. And in Surya Nadi, you have Surya in Prithvi, Surya in Apas, Surya in Agni, Surya in Vayu, Surya in Akasha. Similarly, you have left nostril and same 5 elements in the left nostril breath. And because it alternates in a certain rhythm according to the climate and other conditions outside the body, out there in the nature, the rhythms of the nature, and also according to the various rhythms of the body and the mind, it is called as a swara. The word swara is used for that. In Tamil, we say saram. Saram. Saram means also uh, it's tied together. Charam means it's like uh, strung together as beads. That means saram. Muttucharam, we say, so saram. But I think it is a corrupted form of swaram. So there is a text called Shiva Svarodaya. In a very famous text, easy to get translations. Of course, we have in Tamil Bhogar Jnana Saranul, Agasthyar Jnana Saranul, etc. But you may not get the correct translations for that. But Shiva Svarodaya, some translations are available easy. You can get a PDF to have a look at this Swara Yoga. Just have a look at it. And usually there is also an astrological prediction system based on Swara Yoga. When you are when the moon is in this phase, and when the time of the day this hora is running, and if your swara is in this modality, like for example, if you are in Surya Nadi Agni Tattva, these are the activities that can be done. These are the activities that will be successful. These are the activities that will not be successful. And if you leave the house with a certain kind of a swara for a task under certain astronomical conditions outside, you can expect this kind of outcome. Like that, you have an entire table. You can make a table out of that. And this Swara Yoga people, they very diligently they follow that. It's a method of it can be used as a method of divination. It can be used as a method of uh, overcoming the or minimizing the obstacles from your karma. So they say a person who knows Swara Yoga need not bother about his prarabdha karma. A person who knows Swara Yoga need not fear the planets, etc. They say. The reason being, your unconscious forces, right? So the set of forces that control your unconscious and subconscious tendencies are controllable and manipulatable if you know how to manipulate your swara, or if you understand the pattern. It's like knowing your it's like knowing your rival or your enemy or your competition. So consciously I want to do something, but the unconscious and the subconscious part of me sometimes cooperates, sometimes it does not cooperate. So based on that, and also sometimes the circumstances are favorable for me, not favorable for me. So these all comes under karma. So all the factors that I am not able to consciously influence comes under karma. Now, what I want to consciously achieve comes under purushartha. So for a person who wants to pursue his purushartha, the goal, Swara Yoga becomes a great help, like a weapon in your arsenal. So Swara Yoga becomes a great asset, whereby one understands the subtle patterns that govern the events of our life and the patterns of our thought and emotions. So knowing the subtle pattern, we take the necessary precautions, and if necessary, we may manipulate our swara so that it changes the way things work for us. Now, whatever works against us can be turned around to work for us. So these kind of things are done. Usually, a yogi, a person who is dedicated to freedom, spiritual freedom, self-realization, will not manipulate swara, but rather understand the pattern and use it for planning. You use it for maybe for planning or to be more careful. Things as a tool of introspection, like that. He will not use the swara knowledge for having advantage over other people. It is something like you have you have a secret key into the workings of life. The secret key to the matrix of life, the variables that control life. And if you are not a very ethical person, you can abuse it, misuse it, etc. So any subtle knowledge, the knowledge of the swaras, knowledge of the mantras, etc., are generally taught only to people who have uh, clocked in some time in seva, in service, some study, and all that, and have a very strongly committed ethical life, because it gives you the key to the subtle world. So, Swara Yoga is a serious business, but normally in our everyday life, it is basically Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, Agni Nadi. Agni Nadi is basically when right and left are equal. It's called Sushumna, which is Sandhya Kalam, or the twilight zone inside us, where the day meets the night, like early morning, midday, early evening, sunrise, midday, sunset, midnight. These are generally the times when both of the nostrils will be equal, usually, if your body is healthy. And time to time, during the transition from the right to the left or left to the right, the both the nostrils will run equal for some time. Yeah. And for a person with very good vairagya, generally the Sushumna Nadi will run. And once the Sushumna Nadi is awakened and opened by the practice of intense pranayama, one can expect that Sushumna Nadi Swara, the Agni Swara, to go on for a longer time than for a normal person. So that's about Swara Yoga. Right. I hope it answers something. You can refer to the text Shiva Swarodaya. You get PDFs online. You can get it. The translation will be terrible, but somehow you can have a hang of it. Next question. Somebody said they have a lot of many questions, so I'm waiting for the person to. That's why I started with questions. Before the class, somebody told me that they have some questions, so I'm very. Who will bell the cat? So each one is waiting. Don't be shy. Just yeah. How to overcome attachments? There are the classical approach to begin with is to see the defect in the object or the person to which we are attached. It's called apara vairagyam. What they say as uh, every day contemplating on the inherent defects, contemplating on the inherent defects of birth, death, growing old, and in between, falling with disease and all that, and the different disappointments and the struggles involved in acquiring the objects of attachment, preserving the objects of attachment, and invariably the point comes when you lose that. The same applies to people. So every relationship comes with a cost, and when it comes to the time of paying the cost, it's not very nice. It's always nice when you are enjoying the benefits of a relationship, but the price of the relationship, when it comes to the time for us to pay the price of the relationship, then it rubs against our other attachments and it is not very pleasant. Yeah, like that. So if you start meditating also, you are not able to concentrate, thoughts are coming so much. Yeah, that is a vikshepa. So I will come to that. And both are connected, the attachments and and a certain level of helplessness about too many thoughts interfering, and the virya means the potential or the strength, the power with which the distracting thoughts come during meditation is directly proportional to our level of attachment to the content of the thought. Whatever is the thought about, if our attachment or aversion, both, when I say attachment, we should also consider aversion. My attachment and aversion regarding the object of the thought, whatever the thought represents, the thought flows towards. Object here also means person, situation, things, everything. So my level, so the level of power that thought has over my current commitment, how much influence that thought that comes to me. See, moment I sit for meditation, something comes. There are all kinds of thoughts. Some thought comes, it's just like a small annoying neighborhood noise. Like that, I have a small thought coming here and there. It's all right. But suddenly I remember I forgot to close the gas stove. Now it's a powerful thought. It doesn't let you sit. You have to get up and run. I forgot whether I closed it or not. Now it's dangerous, Now it's very important. I'm not telling you should not get up and go and close the gas. That's not my point. I'm trying to make you understand the weightage that thought has. The thought carries the weightage based on what kind of value we have to whatever the thought represents. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is attachment. So that is what I mean by power of attachment to situations and things and people. So what kind of thoughts come and how the thoughts affects me, meaning what kind of natural reaction the thought invokes in me. So when I am meditating, what kind of reaction an automatically coming thought, a thought that arises in my mind without my volition, a thought that arises of itself, what kind of natural response it elicits from me, it invokes in me, what kind of response or reaction that thought invokes in me. tells us our relationship, the nature of our relationship with the object of that thought, the subject matter of that thought. Yeah. So this helps us to develop an understanding about ourselves, about the pattern of our likes and dislikes, about our desires, fears, our attachments, aversions. So, first thing is the purpose of meditation. When we sit for meditation, we have to understand the purpose is not to bring a thoughtless state and sustain that thoughtless state. That is not the purpose of meditation. This is something we need to understand very clearly. Classical yoga, Zen, Vedanta, whatever you say, the purpose is not that, because you are anyway experiencing thoughtless state during deep sleep. Every day, everybody experiences thoughtless state during deep sleep. So artificially maintaining with pressure could be like a training. It's a certain training. But what do you get out of that? What do you get out of maintaining a concentrated, one-pointed state of mind or a thoughtless state of mind? What do I get from that? Does it inherently give me something? Okay, it makes me feel good. It preserves some energy. I feel a little more collected, more strong, etc. But actually, what long-standing benefit it has is the kind of self-awareness that I develop during the process of sustaining the meditation. While I sustain the meditation, I develop a very fine kind of self-awareness, an awareness about my relationship with the various contents of my mind. I develop an awareness about my value system. I develop an awareness about how I am affected by things. I develop an awareness about what I need to prioritize more and what I don't have to prioritize too much, what I can brush it aside a little bit, where I need to give more importance or less importance, all in line with my goal. Whatever is the goal I have to achieve, in line with that, how I am supposed to conduct myself, what I need to work on. So all this understanding develops in the background while I sit committed for a meditative process. Right. Now, if I am not able to concentrate during meditation, to some extent it can be handled by pranayama. So the distraction in meditation comes in various levels. It can come from imbalance in our three doshas. For example, if you have too much of gastric trouble, it may not give you a certain light state of mind. You may have a negative mood and all that. So based on the chemistry of your gut, the chemistry of your brain is connected. Uh, Somewhere I read, I don't know if it is true, probably Hisaye can give a input on that. In Japan, it seems they say when, or Chinese, I don't know, I think it's Japanese. They say if your mind is not okay, somebody is disturbed in the mind, the word they have means that they have a disturbed stomach, something like that. And now recently they have found out that the gut bacteria is very important for managing the moods, etc. So you have to ensure all that. You have to ensure that your physical health is good, your gut is good, and all that. That's where mitahara and everything comes. Mitahara is the regulation in your diet, food, etc. comes because it's very important as aid for creating the right atmosphere for meditation. How it is uh, useful to have a clean room with good vibrations when you are sitting for meditation. Similarly, your body should also be in a balanced state, and then comes the sensory distractions. If you are too much, or doing some video game and then you sit for meditation, you may have a lot of visual disturbance when you close your eyes, or if there is some catchy song that you have been indulging in for some time, that will go on for some time, all that. So we have techniques like japa, different levels of japa combining with pranayama, all that. All these help, but ultimately it tells you how you have lived your life during the non-meditative time. That's what meditation tells you. Your distractions in meditation tell you what you need to work on during the times when you are not meditating. So let us approach that with that kind of a attitude then. Ah, right. There's a very important question about relationships. Even if you are ignored, but we still think about them. But if they come in the front, all the frustration bursts out, which makes the other person go away from that situation. Correct. There is a beautiful dialogue in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I think I mentioned in the last class when somebody asked about love, lust. Uh, the discussion between sage Yajnavalkya and his wife Maitri. They're very famous. You can just you can Google that. It'll come. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. It's a conclusion. It is for the love of the self that anything is dear. Nothing is dear for its own sake. The husband is not dear for his own sake, but for one's own sake. The son is dear not for his own sake, for one's own sake. The wealth is dear not for its own sake, but for one's own sake. Like that it goes. And the purpose of the discussion is to establish that self is the source of all the ananda. But anyway, just that point, that if I am ignored by somebody, it means I am not bringing value to that person. That person is not able to see my value for them. The personal value I have for them, that is the personal value that I represent for them. How am I valuable for them? The other person does not see that, or does not know that, or the other person thinks that I am useless for them. I am not bringing. So practically, it means if somebody is ignoring us, I am either not bringing a great positive value for them, or I am bringing a negative value for them. That's all it is. No, that is the truth. Whether you like it or not, this is the truth. Rarely, in some cases, I may represent, the other person may like me, but maybe the other person is caught up in a lot of things and not able to prioritize me over. So I am not as important as the other things. I am not more important for that person to prioritize me over the other things, at least not temporarily. Or the other person is completely caught up in their own pattern and are not available for what things that truly matter to them. Even for us, we may love some things, like for example, uh, let us say I would love to uh, spend more time learning music or play the flute and uh, you know learn a few ragas, etc. Ragam, tanam, pallavi, and all that little advanced compositions. I used to like that. I like that, right? and there is genuinely a deep value for music, but I don't do it. I am not spending time, I am not allotting time, and I'm not putting effort into that. The reason being, there are other things that are more important right now, and it is not an active desire in my mind. Right. And similarly, each person may value something, may enjoy some things, may want something, but the current of life might take it away. For example, if a, and also it depends on the nature of the person. If the person is totally, a duty and a schedule driven person, their schedule may not allow them to prioritize things that are emotionally important for them. If you are emotionally important for them, but you are not part of that person's life, maybe the person does not prioritize you along with all the other things that person likes. The person may like so many other things, but it's not giving time for those things. So similarly, the other person is not giving time for you because other things are occupying. The person is caught up in a pattern. The person is caught up in a schedule. That is possible. That is one possibility. Or the other person does not see any value in you. You are not important for them, but still you think about them. Now that is it. So that person does not think about you, that ignores you, but you keep thinking about that person. It means that person is somehow important for you currently, and that a certain need in you is satisfied. If you think that is satisfied only by that person's presence in your life, you would like to spend some time with that person, and you have nothing else in your life to replace that person. You have nothing else in your life to fulfill you in a similar manner, or you have nothing else happening in your life that is fulfilling you. So because of that, you are hankering after that person. Usually, for example, a classical thing in uh, let us say in newly married couple, the old style, old style, newly married couple, the wife is not employed, she's in home, there is not a kid yet, there is no child yet, and all that. So the husband comes home after the office, after work, tired, and this woman is all dressed up, ready to go out. Waiting all day, missing him, texting him, and all that. Newly married couple, Yeah. So, and this guy is, okay, he is love struck for some time. It goes on for 2 3 months, and after that, it's not sustainable. So the fellow has to focus on other things, and they say, okay, let's have something meaningful. So let's have a kid, so that this woman has something to do and not bug him. Now there are two people bugging him, the wife and the kid. Both of them are bugging him. So generally, the problem is, I just told it like a joke, but the point is, one person has nothing much going on in their life, so it's like all their emotional satisfaction comes through the company with this person, while the other person has so many other things that are contributing to his or her satisfaction, her gratification, his or her gratification, satisfaction, what you may say, or the person is busy, caught up in other goals. That's it. That's about it. So you have to see, but we cannot beg, we cannot force another person to feel us as important. The moment, and this is also another thing to it, where the moment we go to a person, the opponent go away from that situation, you said, the other person goes away from the situation. So when we are frustrated that this person is not giving us enough attention, we cannot demand love. We cannot demand love. It doesn't happen. It's no point. It's like making curds, making yogurt. You have to warm the milk, add the yogurt, and you have to wait for 6 hours. You cannot make it come in 1 hour, right? So similarly, there are certain natural processes. So only when the person has space and everything, and you are not challenging them too much, or that is the only way they will feel okay. First, they have to feel okay around you. After that, they have to feel loved to be in your company. And what happens in relationship is we make the other person our therapist, our partner or our friend, or whatever relationship we are, our family members, whom you feel is ignoring you, is not your therapist. So if you are frustrated, find somebody else, a friend or a therapist or somebody else with whom you can discuss your frustration, or write it down and delete it. In old style, write it down and burn it. Find a way to channelize your frustration, and don't bring your frustration in front of this person who is already ignoring you, and you have only very less time. So that time is precious. So your frustration is not important here. So we have to work on this consciously, because what you're talking about is a natural process, and that's how it will be. And this indicates that one must reevaluate one's psychological dependency on the other person. And this is the nature of life. Anything into which a person or thing or a situation towards which we are psychologically dependent for the sake of our happiness, satisfaction, gratification, it is bound to frustrate you after some time. It is bound to create frustration, and it is bound to keep you in a mode of struggle. That is how it is. That is the nature of things. This cannot change. This is how it is. This is the law of nature. Also, in a relationship, in a human relationship, if one person is more needy than the other person, the person who is less needy is going to feel burdened by this needy person. And this is the nature. There is no love that is above self interest. There is no love above self interest. It's a very strong statement. It's very difficult to swallow. But the sooner we swallow, the better it is for us. There is no love, including mother's love. There is no love that is above self interest in some form or the other. It can be sublimated self interest and all that. Even if it is charity, it is a dharmic interest. That is a value for dharma in a person. So the person feels good about oneself while being dharmic, and that's exactly why they are doing charity. So very rarely you have, very very rare moments of karuna, and also that kindness and compassion is there, but that also is only up to a point. There are moments where this kindness and compassion comes, and if a person, we are not discussing a jnani here, we are not discussing a jivan mukta or a jnani. A jivan mukta or a jnani will have unconditional love because there is no personal need. The person comes from a platform of satisfaction. Normally, an ajnani, an ignorant person, a normal person who is within the structure of individuality, approaches a relationship out of some kind of need. So it is a journey from dissatisfaction to satisfaction. And the same applies to the other person. So what I contribute to the other person and what the other person contributes to me has to be reciprocal. There must be some kind of a fair play here. So if it is one-sided, it is not going to work. 100% it will not work. It will never work. That is the law of nature. It's like physics. It will not work. In the case of a jnani, there is no movement towards any object from a platform of need. The person is grounded in the truth of oneself as Chitananda. There is no psychological need. There may be some physical needs, but that does not translate into a psychological need. Even the need to be alive is not a psychological need for a jnani, right? So that is a different thing altogether. So we are not discussing about that. We are talking about people who are within the structure of individuality, likes, dislikes, etc. The relationship possibility is only within the domain given by self-interest. So you have to see how interesting you are to the other person. If you want that person to like you more, to feel more desire to be spend time around you, that person first should feel okay in your company, and next step is probably delightful. But the very fact that you are more dependent on the other person than the other person on you psychologically means it's a classical recipe for frustration. And one has to find other ways of satisfying the psychological need to be psychologically more complete within oneself, so that the sense of needing the other person becomes less. And then our mind will be available to look at the reality of the relationship. So when the reality of the relationship is clear, then we can see what can be done. So that would be a spiritual approach to this situation. Understanding, first point is understanding the inevitable role of self-interest in a relationship. And the dharma of the relationship means mutual self-interest. And third, I have to find a way for feeling complete within myself and reduce my psychological dependency on people, situations, and things, and relationships and things, if I want to be in a state of more, if I want to enjoy a more stable form of happiness. The lesser I am dependent on external factors, the more stable I will be in my completeness within myself, in my state of happiness and content. So these are consciously practiced. It will not come naturally. It will never come naturally. It will come only when we practice it consciously, understanding the reality of things. Yeah. I hope it answers your question. Anything more on this?
Namaste. Ji, I have a follow-up, may I ask?
Sorry, hello? Yes.
Yes, I have a follow-up on what you were saying on, I think you said no, I think.
Your voice is very loud. Can you reduce sound so that I don't hear an echo?
Yes, sorry, I will try to speak softer. Is this okay? Is it okay?
Yeah, give more gap between words. I'll get it better.
Okay, yes. So you said something, I forgot the specific words about no love is, all love is self-interested, or something along those lines. You said it's the truth. It's hard to swallow, but it's the truth. So where, I guess, and it seems, maybe you would agree, all love seems to be, or all.
Pranav, it's Pranav, right?
Yes, yes.
Pranav, I'm not able to understand the words. Okay, can you repeat now once more? Let me see if I removed one earphone. Can you repeat?
Yes, you said all.
You have to type it. You will have to type.
Okay, let me type. I'll type, yes.
Yeah. I hope my voice is clear and it's not as resonating and too loud. Is my voice okay, Miss Swati? I can hear your voice clear. Okay. Good. So we are waiting for that person to type question. If anyone else has any question, you can type it so that we don't wait for the next question. I got something here. You said all love is self-interest ultimately. Is that the same as saying all love, care for others is in one way or another conditional? Yes, conditional upon family bonds, socio-economic status, etc. And where does unconditional love, where the only qualification to receive it is the other individual's existence, exist? The last part of the question is ambiguous. The only qualification to receive unconditional love is the other individual's existence. I mean, the only qualification to give unconditional love. Hello, Pranav.
Yes, I will type. I will type the response. Yes.
Uh, 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 right. Okay. As I told just before, this unconditional love that we are talking about is basically the what we call as uh, the power of grace that comes from God. That's not individual. That is not from the ego. So as long as the individuality operates, as long as an individual is with, as long as you are an individual with needs and boundaries, unconditional love cannot exist. Maybe when one is in tune with a higher principle or a higher energy or something like that, that divine love could manifest through a person as compassion, as kindness, as a pure intention of the other person's well-being. It comes like that. No, it comes as a pure intention of the other person's well-being. There is a beautiful statement of one yogi called Vallala, Ramalinga Vallala. He said, every time I see a withered plant, a crop or a plant, it's withered, without any water, it has become dull, it's dying. Every time I see that, my heart, no, every time I see that, I also feel withered and emaciated. Every time I see a emaciated plant, I also feel emaciated. It's like that empathetic compassion and a kindness that flows towards. It is the need, it is the need of that thing. The plant has a need for water and nourishment. The need for nourishment in the plant invokes this empathetic, caring, loving, kindness, compassion response from the mind of a very highly sattvic person. So when our mind is very highly sattvic in a given moment, the need in the environment will invoke this love from us. That could be called as unconditional love. It is also discussed when Yoga Shastra, when in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, if you read the commentary for the sutra, Ritambara Tatra Prajna, that is a sutra. I think in the 4th chapter, Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Ritambara Tatra Prajna. So if you read the commentary for that, it says, and also it talks about, there is a concept called Dharma Megha Samadhi, where the mind is completely sattvic. In Dharma Megha Samadhi, a yogi is completely in tune with, there is no personal need. An occasional rajas or tamas, rajoguna that comes from time to time, and also because the person does actions that are of no consequence to himself, but it's of tremendous benefit to the humanity. So, like for example, what all the yogis and the rishis did for us, the saints and sages, they did for us. What they call, this bodhisattvas, compassion for all beings. These are all deliberately practiced. It doesn't come naturally. So this unconditional love is a consequence of sattvic mind channeling the energy of compassion as a response to a situational need, as a response to the need in the object towards which the compassion flows. Like the example I gave you about Saint Ramalingar feeling emaciated whenever he sees an emaciated plant. It's more of an empathetic thing, when you see somebody suffering, there is a spontaneous tendency in you. If you have a sattvic mind, there is a tendency in you to alleviate that suffering. So that it comes like that. Yeah, and you feel well. You want to see everybody doing well. You want to see. So that is where it comes. Like for example, you can bring a certain forms of that comes in. The sutra about the Yoga Sutra about Chitta Prasadanam. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya Vishayanam, Bhavanartha, Chitta Prasadanam. There is a sutra, Yoga Sutra, where it says, practice deliberately practicing the attitudes of friendliness, compassion, kindness, gladness, and indifference towards pleasurable, painful, dharmic, and adharmic situations, respectively, will give a person a serene state of mind. So this bodhisattvas practice that a lot. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, so these kind of things will make our mind a better receptacle, a better medium for expressing of this divine love. That divine love is there. That's what makes all this universe possible. But it does not come through. It comes only when your individuality is relaxed and surrendered to the collective, and when the divine, when the other, when the collective, when the universal mind expresses through you, it comes as love. So that's how it is, but not in a personal level. The next question is, does detachment and satisfaction go hand in hand? Yes. In fact, you will see there is a Yoga Sutra which says, but the example here is not connected to that. Eating mango just for the sake of eating and still be satisfied. See, if you are eating mango for hunger or you are eating mango for taste. If you are eating mango prompted by taste, the mango better be a good mango. Otherwise, you will not be satisfied. That desire that for tasty mango desire will not be satisfied. But that does not mean it makes you unhappy. Here, detachment is not wanting nice experiences. I mean, Detachment is not lack of appreciation for nice experiences. Detachment is not depending upon any experience for your happiness. Detachment is clearly seeing that a pleasant experience is temporary and it will come to an end. A painful experience is temporary and come to an end. And me feeling as the experiencer in this experience is the result of avidya or illusion. It's an illusion. I am not the experiencer, I am not the doer. That is one level deeper. Until I get there, I have to very clearly understand. It's like making up your mind. No, you are in a red signal. You have to go to a office or somewhere in the next 10 minutes. But you are in the red signal, and the red signal is there for going to be there for 3 minutes. You cannot move. You may be very frustrated, but you come to the reality. If I cross the red signal, there is police there. He will catch me, and I will lose 10 more minutes, or I may get a huge fine which I cannot afford right now. So I have to wait this 3 minutes. No, after getting frustrated for the first 5 seconds, if you are a sane person, you will come to your senses and accept the reality that you have to wait in the red signal for 3 minutes. So this is awareness of the current limitation that brings you a kind of stability, right? So similarly, I enjoy the mango. I am hungry. This mango is available. This mango is nourishing for the body. It's for the health. Okay, it happens to be tasty, no problem. But I maintain a very objective attitude towards the taste and not be totally nice mango and all that. I'm not very indulging in the taste. Then my craving for a tasty mango next time will not be strong. Yes. Again, we have to see to whom we are talking. If I am talking to a renunciate, then the whole way of going about it is different. But if I'm talking to a normal person, let's say we are giving a mango to a child, we cannot tell the child, eat the mango with a detachment. This would be a stupid thing to say. So the mango is nice. In mango season, you buy a mango and enjoy the mango. So there is something called appreciating a mango. It's nice to have a mango. There's nothing wrong in that. But one level more, oh, I miss that mango. I wish, there used to be those tasty mangoes in our backyard in my childhood. I miss those mangoes. That's okay. But I will be okay only if I get that best imam, I don't know, let's say some very expensive mango, right? Every season I used to get that mango. Now I want that mango this season. Otherwise, I will get, I will be pissed off, or I will be sad, I will be upset, I will be disappointed. Then that is a problem. So one has to gauge the level of impact a nice experience has in us. So we can define detachment as not being excessively dependent upon a pleasant experience for satisfaction. So in other ways, detachment and satisfaction goes hand in hand. Yes, because there is a in niyama, one of the niyamas is santosha, contentment. Practicing an attitude of trying to be contented with what I already have, not putting too much excessive effort in acquiring things, on acquiring experiences, but practicing more contentment. And you know what is the result of practicing contentment? Atyanta sukhalabha. It leads to supreme kind of happiness, satisfaction. Sukha means being very comfortable, in the moment, being very comfortable with one's reality, a kind of a mental peace and satisfaction. So I will not say detachment. Satisfaction and contentment go hand in hand. Detachment is useful for this. I will put it like that. For a normal everyday person. If a person exists, that person deserves love, care, compassion, regardless if beggar or billionaire, genius or ignorant, no other qualification required. That's a virtue to be practiced consciously. Yes. If you practice that as a virtue, that's beautiful. But one cannot impose that on society because that's not natural. We cannot say unless everybody thinks like this, one is not, or we cannot say that. We cannot say that everybody should think like this. But if one would like to practice this as a virtue, this person exists, so that person deserves love, care, compassion, no matter who they are. No, that is a very beautiful value to have, and of course, it's very useful to have as a tool for developing a very compassionate and a sattvic mind. But one that should not become an activism or a militant value that is becoming a movement of human rights thing. If you make it into a rights movement, then it's a problem. But if I'm practicing that as a personal value, then it's very useful and beautiful. That's how I would approach it from the spiritual point of view. So with this, we will conclude the class. It's 9:03. We will continue in the next class, and you can think about stuff, and we can try to see how we can use the spiritual principles for better bridging the gap between the spiritual reality and the practical reality of our lives. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavadishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
நல்லா இருக்கா இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா மியூட் போட்டேன்